For a proper viewing experience, watching the video in a dark room is requested. However, for optimal viewing experience, watching a video in a dark room plus LED lights is very much recommended. Additionally to the LED lights, you can use some blankets if necessary. From Trollbot.EXE with love. Everybody, yo, what's up? It's Trollbot.EXE. Welcome back to another video by me. This time we are covering video Warrior Laserion. On this video, let's go 1, 2, 3, let's go. That took 30 tries. So, welcome to the sequel series of the history of Voltron, where we cover its future. Basically everything after Fleet of Doom. And for the Japanese side, Al-Begis, since that's when the Universal Night Saga block cut off. Yeah, I'm sticking with that name, the Universal Night Saga. But this pseudo-series wasn't exactly over just yet. I mean, it's not the first time they lost their time slot. I mean, all the way back in Raiden, they lost their time slots as it shifted into Combattler V, aka the first two entries. Now, let's go on to its 10th and final entry, Video Warrior Laserion. Before we do our brrr, I find it interesting that Raiden is the only show in the saga that has a supernatural theme, as all the rest of the shows are sci-fi. So, the Earth is unified under the Earth Federation. In it, there is young middle school student Takashi Katori, and his best friend and love interest, Olivia Lawrence. Takashi, who began as an online game fan, developed a virtual world with his friend David from New York, the home of mutant rats and the Aki Way, in which they played a robot combat game by sending data to each other using satellites. Oh, like DirecTV. One day, while they were playing, a scientific experiment using the same satellite was being performed in an attempt to teleport a plane from New York to Japan. In an accident, during a rebellion by people living on the moon, the plane was converted into digital information and sent to the virtual world. Meanwhile, Takashi's robot information was rematerialized into a real robot. Takashi was arrested, however, but it's later found that Dr. Gottheim, a genius scientist from the moon, now an abandoned colony, was behind the revolt. The government forces Takashi to pilot the virtual robot Laserion and protect the Earth, alongside robot pilots Sarah and Charles and their G1 and G2 robots. While production of Laserion kept the same team as Al-Begis, the network was switched from TV Asahi to TBS, and the advertising was switched to 80K Holdings. The video in the title was referring to video games, and the setting and story incorporate elements of computer networks because they were cutting edge at the time. The show was also influenced by the real robot genre, but was course corrected at an early stage. Seems like no matter what, Toei just refuses to make a real robot anime. The second half of the show was headed by Shozo Uehara and Susumu Yoshikawa. both of whom I mentioned earlier, who went for a historical drama-like approach. Production still relied on overseas collaborators like Taiwan Animation in South Korea from episode 2 on. Key animator Kazuhiro Ochi began fully committing to Laser Eye halfway through. However, he only did the storyboarding as he was assigned to correcting animation only. Some of the staff felt the limits of the robot anime within the show. Since the show had a similar toy line, Bandai projected that toy sales would be 70% of Albegis's. However, actual toy sales would be 38%. Oof! Sounds like a massive failure. So, what aired afterwards? Well, it wasn't a robot anime, which means that the Universal Night Saga, which officially marks the end of the Universal Night Saga. Since this was the only thing I was planning on covering today, let's talk about the openings from Daltanius on. Daltanius' opening, probably the worst out of all of them. I really do not like this song. God Sigma's opening, a strong beginning, but it slowly gets worse as the song goes on, until you get to that chorus. I do not like it. Golion's opening, I mean, it's alright. It's certainly one of the better openings. Dairugger's opening, now we got a quality rise. I love it. And I have the same feelings for Albegis's opening. Laser Eye's opening, however, is slightly below those two, but still makes the top 3. So my favorite opening, probably Albegis's, but Dairugger is a close second. I just found Albegis's opening a bit more enjoyable. So, let's talk about the actual shows themselves. Since I only fully watched Golion and partially watched Dairugger, I can say that Golion, it was alright. It certainly got repetitive and reused the same music tracks over and over and over again, to the point that I just got sick of hearing them. Dairugger, however, it's pretty good. I mean, we don't get to see a lot of the robot, but still, it's pretty good. Now for the composers of the Robot Romance and Raiden shows. So Raiden's music was composed by Akihiro Komori. Combattler V and Voltes 5's music was composed by Hiroshi Sisui, the guy that did the music for God Sigma. Daimos' music was composed by Shusuke Kikuchi, which probably contributes to why I like Daimos' opening. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Sisui also composed music for Daltanius, making him the most prolific composer of the Universal Night Saga, with them composing 4 shows. And also, as I probably mentioned in another video, Golion's music was composed by Masahisa Takeichi, Dairugger's music by Seiji Yokoyama, and Albegis and Laserian's music composed by Chume Watanabe. Oh, and one final glorious mention. The History of Metal Heroes Part 1 has recently hit 1,000 views. Everybody, can we get a celebration button right now? There it is. So, I'm kind of like... Yeah, I am that psyched. So, what to do next time? Well, I guess I have Voltron the Third Dimension to cover. So, until then, later, fools!
超レッドレザリオンついに完成。レーザーテクノロジーが生んだ最新のボル